Call it spring, like everything is new. The sunburst flowers calling on warm days overdue. But I call like it.
My name is Matilda Ramirez, and now I am going to talk about the Cold War. The Cold War was a rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. It lasted for decades and resulted in anti-communist suspicions and international incidents that led the two superpowers to the brink of a nuclear disaster. The most important events and dates of the Cold War were the next ones. Berlin blockade and air flight, June 26, 1948. Korean War, June 1950. A space race, October 4, 1957. U-2 reconnaissance plane, May 1, 1960. Soviets invade Afghanistan, December 1979. July 1980. Olympic boycott by USA. And in my opinion, the most important event. April 26, 1986. Chernobyl disaster. October 3, 1990. German reunification. 26 December 1991. End of the Soviet Union. What the term Cold War refers to is the rivalry that developed after World War II between the United States and the Soviet Union and their prospective allies. The Cold War was a wage on political, economic, and propaganda fronts and had only limited recourse to weapons. Capitalism is an economic system characterized by private ownership of the means of production, especially in the industrial sector. Capitalism developed historically out of the previous systems of feudalism and mercantilism in Europe, and dramatically expanded industrialization and the large-scale availability of mass-market consumer goods. The capitalism doesn't have a founder, but Adam Smith was the intellectual founder of capitalism. Socialism is a social and economic doctrine that calls for public rather than private ownership or control of property and natural resources. According to the socialist view, individuals do not live or work in isolation, but live in cooperation with one another. Furthermore, everything that people produce is in some sense a social product, and everyone who contributes to the production of a good is entitled to share in it. Henri de Simon was the founder of the French socialism. What countries were the world leaders during this period?
I think they were United States, Soviet Union, and Germany.
Why did countries who were allies during the wars become enemies afterwards?
Mostly of the mistrust of Soviet Union. Stalin believed that the British and Americans wanted that Soviet Union destroy itself fighting Germany.
Where did the Cold War took place?
It was a conflict between USA and Soviet Union, so it took place in that two countries.
What opinion did the general public have of the Cold War?
That was a senseless fight for power. It brought a lot of damage to the world and only for power.
What type of weapons did the two world powers have at their disposal?
Nuclear weapons and atomic bomb. The Chernobyl disaster was a huge mistake for making the weapons.
In my opinion, I think that was an unnecessary conflict between the United States and Soviet Union. Everything they did was only for the power and for being the best, but they never realized how much damage they were doing, not only for their people, but also for the nature. They wanted to be in all aspects the best, but that led them to make mistakes and for only hurting people that trusted their country. In my opinion, the Chernobyl disaster was the most major event that happened. It led to people dying for the government's mistake, not theirs. It also led to people to change their whole life, everything they knew, the persons they knew. All of that was taken away from them. Approximately 4,000 people died, but the Soviet Union record is 31 until today. The government of Ukraine hasn't changed it. It's something they want to hide, but it's something that always be remembered because it changed tons of lives. The socialism and the capitalism, the big difference between them is the extent of government intervention in the economy. The socialism is an economic system where everyone in a society equally owns the factors of production. Even though it has a lot of disadvantages, an advantage is that the government has a lot of power. This works as long as it represents the wishes of the people. But government leaders can abuse this position and claim power for themselves. Further, capitalism is an economic system where private entities own the factors of production. The four factors are entrepreneurship, capital goods, natural resources, and labor. Capitalism results in the best products for the best prices. That's because consumers will pay more for what they want the most. Capitalism ignores external costs such as pollution and climate change. This makes goods cheaper and more accessible in the short run, but over time it depletes natural resources, lowers the quality of life in the affected areas, and increases costs for everyone. Capitalism does not promote equality of opportunity.